Good afternoon, everybody. This is Brooke Roberts. I'm going to take the next, I don't know, half hour or so to talk about preparing for internship. Looks like we've got several people here. If you would like to, I'd like for you to introduce yourself, even though I know you, but introduce yourself to each other. Let's start with Lindsay. Could you say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay Freeman. I live in Midland, and I'll probably be watching all of these videos today because I'm just a curious person who loves to plan. I'm just interested in internship and can't wait to get started.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hey, Krista, can you talk?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, my name is Krista Kennan. I live in Lubbock and I'm currently in my practicum. Or actually, you know that. But working in Lubbock Cooper and I'm just excited for my internship next year.
Awesome. Glad you could join us today, Krista. Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm a second semester LSSP student. And even though the internship is more than a year away, I do want to know exactly what's involved, or more or less what's involved. I'm hoping to be back in Texas. I'm in California now by that time, because it does get a little bit complicated here to do an internship in California. You have to have a credential to be an intern, and then you have to have gone to a California school. So I'm not even sure it would work.
Oh, wow.
But I just wanted to know, just basically like what the parameters and requirements are. And then I'll just kind of be able to make some more decisions when that time comes.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's they make things pretty hard here.
That's why everybody in California is moving to Texas, right?
Yes, that and cost of living.
All right. Jillian, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Hi, how is everyone? I guess
Doing
good.
good.
Everyone's muted. Everyone's muted. That's how they are. I may have to step out. I've got a kindergarten friend that I'm working with. That's why I'm late. But I'm happy to be here and trying to figure out my life with all this good stuff. So
Excellent. We're glad you could join us. And let's see, Jessica, want to say hi?
Hello, I'm Jessica Jackson. I'm a whoa, my hair. It is a little windy here today. I'm a third year doctoral student and one of the RAs.
Thanks, Jessica. And if Beth Watson is here. I don't know, she was here our last session too. So Beth, do you have a chance to say hi?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Beth Watson. I'm one of the graduate advisors, and I work with educational psychology. I recognize all of y'all's names, so I know we've spoken at least at some point. But if y'all do have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out. I'll be hanging out for the presentation, and of course, I got my email and everything up. So good to see you.
Beth does so much for our program and for you guys behind the scenes so I'm really glad that she can have some of these times to connect with y'all as well. Okay, we're going to talk about internship, moving from practicum to internship. We'll talk both about the specialist level internship and the doctoral level internship, what the differences are, what the requirements are, those sorts of things. But in a nutshell, both internships are the culminating experience of training at that level. So it's the last thing you do. You finish coursework, you finish practicum, you finish qualifying examination and dissertation proposal and dissertation process, and then you go on internship. So it's like the culminating experience. In a nutshell, there is 1,200 clocked hours required for the specialist internship and 1,500 hours clocked for the doctoral internship. The doctoral can be a little bit complicating because there are some different configurations that can be discussed. And so we'll spend some time kind of fleshing out what some of those are. Remember that our internships aligned with the NASP practice model. So we're looking for internships that you're going to have experience working with a diverse and varied abilities of students, diverse and spread out age ranges. And we also want to be working with sites and with supervisors that don't rely on the interns to carry a full caseload, but they recognize that interns are still in training and they're providing training and mentoring and coaching and teaching during the intern year. So it's not, it should not be a design of, we're going to get you in here and turn you loose and expect that you do everything that a school psychologist does. And so we really want to look for ideal sites and ideal supervisors that are going to continue our training. The general guidance for the specialist level internship is most of our students will complete a specialist level internship. So this meets the requirements for licensure in Texas under the Texas State Board of Examiners and Psychologists for the LSSP. It has also met requirements in other states, but as Carrie just mentioned, it may not meet requirements in California. So that's definitely something, if you're thinking about doing an out-of-state internship, which is possible. We have had students do their internship in Maryland, I think. I think that may be our only out-of-state internship since the program began in 2010. Now, we have had students who have worked and practiced and become licensed out of Texas, but I think only one student has done their internship outside of Texas. For the specialist level internship, the program requires 1,200 hours. That's the same as the state board. It's also the same as NASP. So NASP's, or the state board's requirements are aligned with NASP. That is 1,200 logged hours or clock hours to be completed throughout both semesters cumulatively. Generally, your internship is going to start before the actual university semester begins. That's not a problem. Usually our interns become hired on a contract with the school district, usually like 187 or 197 day contract. And so certainly that's going to start, 5 days before the school year starts, but also a couple of weeks before the university's semester starts. But that's okay. We still go ahead and allow you to do that. We've got to have a supervisor in place. A supervisor can be employed by the school district, or it can also be contracted by the school district. Or, for instance, in some situations, we have our program has provided supervision to the student in an agreement with the school district. And so as long as we're kind of on the up and up there, we've got an agreement in place, we have a district employed supervisor or a district contracted supervisor, we're good. The qualifications of the supervisor, though, is really important. The state board and our program requires that that supervisor has been practicing school psychology without supervision for at least 3 years. I almost just said 3 hours, so I'm glad I didn't say that. For at least 3 years. So that means that somebody who maybe just completed their internship last year doesn't qualify to be a supervisor. And so that'll come across on the LSSP application when you complete it. It'll ask you to list your supervisor, and it'll ask when they've been supervised. So that's one of the things that they check is to make sure that you've had somebody who's been supervising or who has been practicing without supervision for at least 3 years. Site supervision must be provided, and that's at least 2 hours weekly. It can, well, in a normal year, when we're not in a state of emergency due to a health crisis, that is required for at least a greater than 50% of the time to be provided supervision meetings face-to-face. However, right now, because the governor of Texas has issued a state of emergency, The board has waived that rule, and so we will also waive that rule. So supervision can currently be completed remotely, online, virtually, telephone. That's something to keep into consideration. The other thing is at least or greater than 50% of the supervision must be individual supervision. And so, for instance, right now I'm supervising 2 different LSSP interns in 2 different districts. I meet with each one of them for an hour individually weekly, and then we also do an hour of group supervision weekly. And so that's permitted, but it does have to be that balance. It can't be all group supervision. We do have to have site agreements in place with the university and with the site and with the supervisor. And so that's something that takes some time. It takes a lot of time to sometimes get these districts to sign what they need to sign to get everything in place. And so the earlier we can get that done, the better. If you already know that you've got a site, then we need to get that on the books, and we need to start working on that paperwork. But it is an agreement between the university and the site. We are also, go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to wait until you were done, but you had one more thing.
No, go ahead.
Well, it may take a while. Can you talk more on the doing an internship in another state? Since we have to meet requirements for LSSP licensure in Texas, would it be possible that if you go to another state, you may not meet those requirements?
I guess it technically could be, Jessica. I'm trying to think in way, I mean, I guess, so Texas's requirements are aligned with NASP requirements. NASP has requirements that they call the standards for state credentialing of school psychologists. And most states' licensure or certification processes are aligned to those minimum standards. 1,200 hours, must have a supervisor who's already practicing and credentialed. I don't see, I mean, there may be a couple of things here that would be more restrictive from the Texas side of things, but something that we could not possibly negotiate.
So the state in which you do internship doesn't necessarily matter, just as long as you meet those requirements for Texas. I know the supervisor that I did practicum with, I believe she did her internship in New Mexico.
She did, yeah. She was in Clovis.
Yeah, so.
But she never became licensed in New Mexico. She immediately applied for the Texas license.
So where you do internship then may not so much depend on the state, just obviously as long as you meet the requirements for the Texas.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It just seems weird to me that you would be able to go to another state to do an internship when you're getting licensed in Texas, I guess.
Yeah, and Texas doesn't have reciprocity with very many other states, so they don't recognize the license from it. They make you go through a separate
Right.
licensing, application process, even if you've been previously licensed or certified in another state.
Yeah.
Good thoughts. We continue to use time to track in internship to log our hours. So you are all very familiar with time to track, hopefully by now, and we'll continue to use that for our logging and collection of hours. I'm going to skip through some of this doctoral stuff. We'll circle back around to it, since I think Jessica's maybe our only student here that's that it's relevant to, and kind of just talk about locating sites. So what's your next step? Well, next step is to remember that the internship is an agreement. It's an agreement and an arrangement between us as the university and the program, between you as the intern and the student, between the site and between the site supervisor. And so it does have a legal contract or agreement that the university puts forward. And I wish I could say that I handle all of that, but I don't. That has to go through a different department. It goes through attorneys. It makes sure that the agreements that we are putting in place are legal and signed off on. And so it does take some time. And so as soon as we have a site in place for you, we need to start the process of that, of those agreements. And so that means that you and I are going to be talking about who the supervisor is, who the administrator is at that site that's going to sign the agreement, if there's any terms to the agreement that have to be put in place. And so it does take some negotiation. And this could possibly be our largest internship class yet. And so I would appreciate any assistance you can provide with expediting that. When you know that you have an internship site, let me know. There is a sample. So some school districts may say, well, what kind of agreement has to be in place? There is a sample in the field placement handbook that you can actually show them when you're interviewing or when you're entering into negotiations. I would suggest that you go ahead and start updating a cover letter, that you start sending that out, that you update your resume, your portfolio. If you want me to send that out for you, I will send it to special ed directors or other LSSPs who may have a need. I've been sending y'all anytime a school district sends me something and says, we're looking for interns, I try to send it to you all. Now, I know a lot of them aren't real local to Lubbock right now, but they'll start coming. And it's okay for you to send inquiry letters and interest letters to schools to start contacting special ed directors, 504 coordinators, behavior specialists. You can start putting out some feelers and seeing who's going to be hiring for interns. Now, the other thing I would say is start looking on job boards, and I've listed some here. I'll send out the PowerPoint either later today or this weekend to let you know, so that you have these links. But TASP has a job board. The region service centers have job boards. Check every service center that you're interested in possibly working near. NASP has a job board. APA has a job board. Division 16 of APA has a job board. That's really probably going to be more for the doctoral interns. So keep those job boards. And even though it doesn't say hiring for an LSSP intern, if you feel like that you meet the qualifications, then you can apply for that position. I say you put out as many applications as you possibly can, especially like if it says educational diagnostic, hiring an educational diagnostician, you guys can do the role of you can do the job of a diagnostician in addition to conducting providing comprehensive school psychological services. And so if a school district knows that, you're going to be very competitive. And I think as school psychologists right now, we have a lot of leverage in being hired in those positions because there are so many vacant positions, so many schools who need LSSPs right now. You've got an advantage. Compensation. People frequently ask me, okay, well, how much should I expect to be paid? And that varies widely. You're going to see some school districts that are going to maybe offer compensation of $20,000 or $25,000 plus benefits. Well, what they're doing is they're providing you with a training opportunity. They are providing, those are usually going to be smaller districts who are toying with the idea of adding school psychologists, and they're just going to be testing you out to see if they want to hire you as a full-time LSSP in the future. It's usually going to be smaller caseloads in those types of sites with maybe a more expanded role. Maybe you'll get to do not just testing, but you'll be doing a lot of consultation, a lot of direct intervention and counseling, and FBAs and behavior plans, a lot of different things. And so you may have, offers that are down in the 20s or 25s. You may also see in some areas, school districts are so desperate that they're, going to throw a gargantuan amount of money your way. And so we need to talk about that. What are they expecting? Are they expecting that you're going to be doing 100 different evaluations this year? If so, then that's not the school district for us. That's not what we're trying to do. So we want to look for schools that are going to take into consideration that we're still in training status. I do recommend, and this is just kind of a ballpark, but I do recommend that you don't accept less than the starting teacher salary at that school district. When you're, especially if you've had no experience in TRS and you haven't been working in Texas schools, I just recommend that when if they ask you what kind of salary you expect, that for an internship, if you're under supervision, they're providing that high quality supervision for you, that you go ahead and start them and say, I want to be at least the starting teacher salary for this district. I mean, you guys have accrued almost 60 hours of graduate credit at least. And so you definitely need to be compensated as such, even though you don't have the license. How am I evaluated? Well, at the end of each semester, it's going to be very similar to the practicum evaluation. You will complete your self-evaluation and your supervisor will complete a self-evaluation. Remember that ratings of 1 and 2 for any item mean that you don't receive credit. Now, it's really difficult to get a 1 or a 2. You have to be doing an exceptionally poor job, but that is just something to look at. Again, it'll be very similar to your practicum evaluations, but of course, we're looking at a little bit higher level of expectation. The other thing is you're going to be meeting with your cohort and with your internship instructor multiple times during the semester. You're going to be completing what we refer to as portfolio domain documents. And so those are going to be aligned to each of the 10 NASP domains. So for instance, you'll be looking for an opportunity to write up an example would be a 8-step ethical problem solving dilemma, and then present that to the internship instructor. The other thing at the end of the spring semester is you will present your portfolio to the school psych program. That portfolio will include case studies, your domain products, your self-appraisals, and your CV. And so that'll be something that will happen at the end of the internship. So that's the culminating experience. Next steps, read the 2020 NASP standards, including the practice model. Read the current version of the TSBEP rules and regs, understand the issues with supervision rules and what is required of us. We do have to maintain and notify the parents of the kids that we're providing services to, that we're interns, that we're under supervision status, under supervisory status, under a supervisory relationship, and note our status there. Start gathering information about potential sites, supervisors, and administrators. We need to make sure that the site does have a qualifying school psychologist that's able to provide that supervision status for us. You will need to continue to maintain that student liability insurance that you've purchased this year. You can do that through a discount through the NASP website. I think there's 2 different companies that NASP provide you access to. And then also be sure to join NASP and TASP. Your school district may pay for you to attend the TASP conference in November in Georgetown outside of Austin. So be sure to join TASP. They may also pay for you to go to NASP next year, which will be in Boston, I believe. So who knows? Well, depends on what school district you end up with. What do you need to do next? Start updating your resume, your CV, your portfolio. Send that out. Make sure you're getting A's and B's in your courses. If you work in a school district that you would like to do an internship with, start having conversations with your administrators and supervisors and special ed directors and 504 staff, etc. If you're needing assistance with locating an internship, talk to me. Let's schedule a meeting. Let's start talking about how we can get that for you. We talked about access to a school psychologist. Respond promptly to your email when you and I are in communication about something. Let's make sure that we're taking care of business quickly. Clean up your social media profiles and your accounts. Make sure that there's nothing in there that's that you would be embarrassed for a potential employer to see. I'm going to pause there for questions. I'm not seeing any.
Hi, this is Carrie. I have a question. Do you find that most of the internships are paid or are more volunteer? I'm asking because I'm thinking asking somebody to work full time with no compensation for a year is a bit of an ask.
Carrie, that varies by region. It varies by region of the state, and it also varies by states. Every single one, well, I take that back. We have had one student who completed a volunteer internship. She was a doctoral student. She was employed with a university, and she wanted to get her license, but she was unable to quit working, and so she pulled a double duty, and I think was working on her dissertation at the same time. So she's the only person that I know of that has volunteered to do, the only person from our program that has volunteered to do an internship at no compensation. But every other intern has been employed by the school district and received full benefits and at least $20,000 to $25,000 salary.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I'm going to talk about praxis here, and then we'll circle back to the doctoral internship. Okay. Praxis. So what you need to do next. This summer, you are going to be taking what? 5349 Advanced Academic Assessment and Intervention. And so that's the only course I believe that you're scheduled to take this summer. That leaves you with a little bit of time to also take your praxis study and take your praxis exam. So the praxis is the National School Psychologist Examination. It is the same in every state. It is what Texas requires in order for you to pass, and I believe it requires a score of 147 to pass. No pressure, but we have a 100% passing rate in our program on first attempt. So start looking at the test dates. There's a link where you can see that. This praxis test will serve as your master's comprehensive exam. So once you pass it, you send me the score, and then I keep track of that so that when Beth starts sending out the comprehensive exam information, what we'll do is we'll just fill that out and notify her that you have passed your comprehensive exam, because we are modifying the comprehensive exam to be the praxis test. Purchase some study materials. I'm sure Jessica and other students can give you pointers on that, because some have already taken it and passed. Review your textbooks. I think most recently I heard that the Sattler textbooks are referenced in the praxis, as are your ethics textbooks. IDEA is referenced. And then there's some legal cases that you're going to want to brush up on. You can also reference the NASP's Best Practices in School Psychology volume. I believe that's a 4-volume set, and they will probably have it on sale in a week or two when the NASP conference begins. Form a study group. You're going to be on campus for a couple weeks this summer, so that's a great time to start forming a study group. I also have a practice test for you that is built into Qualtrics. And so I can give that to you as a 50-item set, and I can also give it to you as a 100-item set. So you can kind of take the 50-item set first, see how you do, see where you need to brush up and study, and then you can take the 100-item set before you take the Praxis this summer. When you register for the Praxis, you need to have the scores sent to Tech, to the state board, to NASP, and I guess any other state boards or organizations that you think that you might be practicing in. So if that's going to be Colorado or New Mexico, have them sent to the Departments of Education there. And then notify me as soon as possible when you receive your results and you know what you made. Any questions about Praxis? Okay, then I'm going to circle back around to the doctoral internship. Is there anybody here who has other questions about the Praxis or the specialist level internship? Okay. So similar to the specialist level internship, the doc internship is an agreement between the university, the student, the site supervisor, and the site. Remember that you must be supervised by an appropriately credentialed school psychologist. Now, as I mentioned before, there are multiple configurations and pathways available to accomplish the doctoral internship. The biggest difference between the specialist internship and the doctoral internship is that the doc internship requires at least 1,500 hours of completed. And so that's the biggest difference. Now, it depends on what your career goals are and what your licensure goals are, which route you decide to pursue here. So here is the minimum. This is what I referred to as Model 1. It's the program minimal. This is just the base of what's required. NASP standards state that we must include a plan to develop at least one advanced practice area of the NASP standards and domains while in practice of your internship. Okay. It also says that you must have at least 600 hours of your internship completed within a school setting. So that's 6 of 1,500 hours. Then a little bit later, it says if you completed, and this is new, so I'm still learning and I've still got some questions to ask. This is brand new. I just discovered it this morning, so I'm still interpreting it. But it says if you've previously completed a specialist level internship, or you've completed at least 600 hours in a school doing an advanced practicum, then you don't have to do 600 of those hours in the doctoral internship. So I'm still wrestling with that because there's another spot that says up to 750 hours can be waived. So I'm still kind of looking into that, trying to figure out exactly what they're referring to and why that change was made. We still, because we're interns, we still have to notify the recipients of services that we provide that we are interns, that we're under supervisory status. Now, Model 2 changes a little bit. And Model 2 is going to be for those who are pursuing the LP in addition to, or as well as concurrently with, the LSSP. And why this changes is because the LP in Texas requires at least 1,750 hours of internship clocked underneath the supervision of at least 2 LP supervisors, and there must be at least 2 pre-doctoral interns at the same site. So it gets a little bit, murkier and more difficult to arrange at this time. These sites are also more difficult to find because most school psychologists don't have an LP. And so there are very few school districts that have somebody employed who holds both licenses. In fact, in the Lubbock area, there's only one school district in all of region 16, 17, and 18. There's only one school district that has a dually licensed school psychologist. And unfortunately, that school district by itself doesn't meet this requirement because it does require you to have 2 LPs to provide that supervision. We also, like I said, the Texas board rules say that you've got to have 1,750 internship hours. However, if you're looking at possibly practicing in another state as an LP, you're going to want to obtain up to 2,000 hours. I think Florida requires 2,000 hours in your practicum. The good thing is, if you complete 2,000 hours in Texas for your, I'm sorry, I said practicum, I meant internship. The good thing is, if you say you complete 2,000 hours in Texas for your internship, 1,750 of them can go towards your internship, and then the overage of 250 can be applied to your postdoc supervision hours. And you've got to have 1,750 postdoc supervision hours in order to be licensed as an LP. So the requirements step up significantly here. How do we get this arranged? Well, there's 3 different routes or pathways. And so I've named those models 2A, 2B, and 2C. So model 2A would be maybe a very simple model. This is Dallas Independent School District. This is Fort Worth ISD. This is a school district that already employs at least 2 LPs and LSSPs at the same, who are duly licensed at the same level. And so this would be, like I said, Fort Worth ISD, Dallas ISD, Cy-Fair ISD in the Houston area. They employ both LPs and LSSPs together. So that would be a possibility. Model 2B would be a different internship site. Say you didn't need to log 600 hours in the school setting because you already did your specialist level internship, then you would only need to complete the remaining hours in maybe an alternative setting. And so that could be a mental health clinic, it could be a hospital or a children's advocacy center. I misquoted I didn't misquote, I miscommunicated. You would still need 1,750 hours because you're going for the LP. But if you had already previously done a specialist level internship, you wouldn't have to do another internship with 600 hours in a school setting. However, because you're going for the LP, then you're still going to have to log 1,750 hours underneath the supervision of at least 2 LPs. So again, that could be Texas Children's Hospital. It could be a private practice with Doctors Goldstein and Naglieri. So lots of different options there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school setting. The other option, and this was created last year, this was our first year to have it, we created the Texas Tech University School Psychology Internship Consortium. So the state board says that if there's a consortium in place, and a consortium is an agreement between 2 or more agencies or parties that can meet the requirements of the pre-doctoral formal internship, then those sites can come together and form a consortium in order to meet the requirements. So let me tell you what we did. We had several doctoral students who wanted to do the LP internship, but they didn't have an internship in a school district or in a private practice that met all of these requirements. So what we did is we came together and we wrote up a legal document. We put it through our attorneys at the procurements department and contracting. And we found LP supervisors who were willing to supervise our doctoral students and interns and partner together as an internship consortium. That was a monstrous undertaking, but we have been successful in doing so, and we are willing to continue this opportunity. However, it does take some moving parts. So currently, the consortium included Texas Tech, our program. It included Lubbock ISD, Doctors Driscoll and Bates Practice, Dr. Michael Gomez, San Angelo ISD, and Dr. Johnny Burkhalter there. And then it included United Independent School District in Laredo and Dr. Joanne Mitchell, who owns a private practice in Laredo. And so all of these parties have come together and have formed an agreement to say, we are going to be under the same training standards for these students in order to accomplish this. So if this is the route that you want to go, we also have to start pulling strings and making this happen. It does take some beneficence from those psychologists, because they may not, they may want to be paid for their supervision. Fortunately, the ones that we have right now who have agreed to do this are doing so out of the goodness and kindness of their hearts. But we have no guarantee that that's going to continue from year to year. So it does take some massaging and a lot of work to get that agreed upon. I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to take a break. And so any questions? I think this is the only thing I really had to add to this is that there is a website down here, the APPIC post-match vacancy service. This is a website that beginning in March will be listing doctoral internship sites around the country that did not match with an intern from a APA approved training program. So this is a way to find some of those internships all across the country that meet this standard. Any questions? Hey, Joanne, I didn't see you.
I have a question.
Yes, Jill.
So I'm just gonna be blunt. I only want to work in Lubbock ISD because I'm in Lubbock ISD and I love what I'm doing currently. And so if there's not a spot or they choose not to hire me as an intern and I stay working as a behavior specialist for a year, can I wait and postpone my internship a year? Like that's not gonna, only person that would affect would be me, right? It would just prolong my, my completion and licensure.
I am not thinking of a reason that would be a problem as long as you maintain continuous enrollment. If for some reason you don't enroll for one of those semesters, then you would have to reapply to the program and there's no guarantee of readmission. But yes, we would work with you to make sure that, you can take another semester practicum, or there's other courses that we can enroll you in.
Okay. I'm hoping there'll be a spot and they'll choose me or something, but in the event that they don't, I love what I do. But I'm come this far, so I don't know. I just was gonna ask about that and see what your thoughts were, what if that was possible or a problem, but.
Yeah,
Hopefully hopefully it won't come to that.
I'm gonna ask Beth to double check me on that. Am I saying that right, Beth?
I apologize. My audio cut out. We're having a little bit of internet stutter.
Oh. Jill was just asking if if she doesn't do internship next year, as long as she maintains continuous enrollment in the program, that wouldn't be a problem. I was just basically saying, as long as she's enrolled in a course, that she can delay her internship another year.
Right. The order of courses matters for the program, whether the courses are offered or not. But as far as graduate school rules and things like that, that's fine. You do have to stay enrolled in long semesters, so you need a fall and spring enrollment. You don't have to stay enrolled in the summer unless you start your 8,000 enrollment. Then you do need a summer hour.
And that's for dissertation.
So for our doctoral students, continuous enrollment matters in the summer, but if you're not a doctoral student in your dissertation, you're good. Does that help?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there like a time limit on that? Like 2 years, 3 years? Like, is there a time frame like that? Like if she weren't to, or somebody else weren't to be able to get that internship next year or the next year, is there like a limit on how long you can kind of prolong that?
Not from a paperwork perspective. You just end up taking 3 hours per semester that you don't necessarily need.
Okay.
I don't know. So it ends up adding up on the degree. At that point, you might want to look for a certificate or something that might increase your skill set that would complement what you have going on. Again, with program approval and things, but I don't know if there would be a different answer for Mr. Roberts.
And I mean, if you've completed everything, praxis, everything, I mean, the jurisprudence is a whole nother thing, but like you're done with everything except an internship, you would still need to reapply. Like, hey, I did all of this with you guys. Like I'm reapplying basically. I don't know. Hopefully I won't have to do that. It's just like, I don't know.
So the program's opinion or position is better, is that if you stop continuous enrollment in the program, you would have to reapply to take that to enroll in a course that's offered by the program.
Okay. Hopefully we won't go there. Just exploring options.
Other questions? Carrie, did I get all yours?
Yes, I think so. Appreciate it.
All right. Again, if anybody needs help locating districts, I will definitely visit with you. So